my claim to fame. A bronze idol.
We won't melt you down, Alejandro.
Nor to worship me.
Well, that might be going a bit too far.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll worship you. We can. What a stare. Wow. Welcome.
It's like a statue-like stare.
It is. It is a statue-like stare.
I cover your face.
Almost like it was a paperweight.
Would you like some coffee? Mwah. It's so good. And he's out. We are rolling, by the way.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Behind the scenes with Josh
And Ethan.
and Alejandro.
See?
He's down there. Good times. Wow. And I guess we're ready to knock this thing out.
Yeah, we are.
Alright. We hope you enjoy. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe and hit your notification button on YouTube. Because we love you. Welcome to the State of the Ozarks podcast. This is Josh Heston, Editor-in-Chief.
And this is Ethan Grubaugh.
And we're talking about our Ozarks.
Your community.
And this episode of Been Thinking About has been brought to you by
Artist Christine Reitzel, Beauty from Light.
Stafford's Barbershop and Shave Company, the place for men in downtown Branson.
Shepherd the Musical, rediscovering America's story.
Blue Rock Print Company, upgrade your look.
And the Taney County Health Department, creating opportunities for healthy lives in our community.
Oh, good folks.
Yeah.
Good folks. And of course, Christine was just in the studio.
Yeah, she was just in here last week.
Something like that. Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That was a fun interview.
Yeah. You guys went a little...
We went long.
Yeah, but it was good. It was
yeah. I love long format podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
We get to dig deep into subjects.
Yes.
And make people listen to us.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And speaking of subjects,
Yes.
what do we got going on today?
Oh my gosh.
What'd you guys do this weekend?
Yeah, we did some fun stuff. Of course, it's April 15th. It's tax day.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful night here in the day and night here in theOzarks. We've got the windows open. The spring peepers are peeping.
And there's kids playing basketball outside.
There's kids playing basketball outside. So
Yep.
we were left with one of three options. Option number one, close the windows and suffocate. Option number two, scream at the children, which would be absolutely ineffective. Or option number three, enjoy the children and the sound of children playing.
Yeah.
So we went with three because it seemed like the reasonably humane thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, here in the United States, it is tax day, and well, one of the things that's happening right now is the fire at Notre Dame Cathedral.
Yeah.
And that is, I've never been to Notre Dame. I've never been to France. I've been a student of Western civilization and culture and history most of my life. I have been to England and Spain. I've been to one cathedral in Spain, the Cathedral of Seville. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it is really, really heartbreaking. And it's such a symbol of Western civilization.
Mm-hmm.
An absolutely priceless symbol of Western civilization. And to me, it's unthinkable. I can't. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. And fortunately, we don't seem to have any reports of casualties. But to me, it's on in terms of Western civilization, it's on the same. To me, this feels the same as watching the Twin Towers collapse.
Mm-hmm.
It's just immense, and it really reminds me of everything that I've come. Of course, I'm biased. I know I'm biased. I love Western civilization. Have grown up with that history. I've grown up in that culture, but it reminds me of how special our legacy of art and our legacy of culture is, and along with that is a legacy of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom to put many disagreeing views together, as long as folks play reasonably nice. A legacy of ultimately what has brought out much of the best of humanity over the course of some 1,000 years. And it's really heartbreaking to see the symbol of that on fire,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. So our hearts go out to, of course, the city of Paris and everyone directly impacted by the tragedy. But this is a tragedy that impacts the whole world, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So, and along that line, I think something that's incredibly beautiful about the ideals put forth, whether it's the ideals ultimately of the Renaissance, the ideals of these opposing viewpoints ultimately of modern thought, is that a free culture is a culture in which we can express many diverse opinions.
Mm-hmm.
People, as long as we're expressing ourselves respectfully, we can have these opposing ideas. We can come together and discourse and debate, as long as it's done civilly. And we live in a society in which some ideas that are considered very non-mainstream, we can talk about, we can engage, and we can bring into the public forum. Which, again, you had a great lead in that I derailed with my somber stuff, but
Yeah.
but it does really come back to something that we're dealing with this weekend, or attending this weekend, which was the UFO conference of Eureka Springs. Oh, I want to play the theme from X-Files so bad. Came back with this awesome mug. Awesome mug. It for folks who are watching, it's the Missouri MUFON Mutual UFO Network mug, and I love what it says on the back: doing the government's job since 1969. MissouriMUFON.org. Oh.
And with a name like MUFON, you can sure trust them.
Oh, and I think we're going to get your dad in here because he's been to multiple UFO conferences as well.
And I've only heard of them.
You've only heard of them. We're going to have to take you next year.
Okay.
Please hold back your exuberant enthusiasm. So, it does bring up the $1 million Facebook's famous Ethan question. Do you believe in UFOs?
Define believe and define UFOs.
Not an airplane.
Not an airplane.
Mm-hmm. Not an airplane.
Like a satellite?
Not
I mean...
Well, technically, the definition of UFO is unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
So, an object flying that is unidentified.
Well, to me, that could be any type of bird, because I don't know any of like the species except for crow and buzzard
and Tom Servo.
Yeah. It's one of those things that it's not impossible if you think about just how vast the universe is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, say the nearest place that could hold life forms is further than we can travel.
A long way off the rest stop.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's hard to believe that they would come all this way out here to see us and take our cows.
Although, admittedly, beef is delicious. It's what's for dinner.
Yeah.
No, wait, was that the pork?
No, we had chicken.
Ah, yes, we did.
Yeah. But, I don't know, it's one of those things that I don't want to trap myself getting too caught up in.
Mm-hmm.
It's a possibility,
mm-hmm.
and I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. So, let's bring your dad in. We're gonna. I'm getting rid of you now.
All right, that's fair. Because I'm a non-believer.
Oh, you're a non-believer, you.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
No, you can hang out in here.
No.
Yes.
And I'm going to just out of spite.
Use my hand with noise.
Your beard looks amazing.
Who cares what I'm doing?
Hello, Dale.
Hello.
You're on video.
Hi, video.
Welcome to YouTube. There you go.
And it's my tube, too.
We just killed Alejandro's handler.
I'd be sorry.
No,
I'll
you're
talk
fine.
softer.
No?
No?
You do you.
You to you?
You do real.
I do real. I am real.
You are.
I'm just as real as I can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pinch me, I scream. Squeeze me, I cry. Please take me. Never mind.
What is going on?
I'm dating myself with that one. Because nobody in the room knows what I just sang.
Natalie, cards are just for reference. The time cards are just for reference.
What time cards?
That you'll see placed on the table.
What time cards?
You'll see.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Dale, it's good to have you back in the studio.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
Of
Thank
course.
you for having me even.
You're in the studio on a regular basis. 'Cause
Yeah, pretty
this
much.
This is the home center network of the state of the Ozarks. This is
Yeah, my office is just across the hall.
good times. But we got to go to the UFO conference.
Yes, we did.
The Ozark Mountain UFO conference.
Yes.
And Eureka Springs
Mhm.
at the Best Western.
Mm-hmm.
The Best Western on the west side of town, not
Yes.
the Best Western on the east side of
Yeah.
town.
Yeah. There is a difference.
Then there's two Best Westerns in Eureka
Mhm.
Springs, which confused the fool out of me the first time I went looking for a Best Western.
Yeah.
Because I looked all around that place and there was no UFO conference. But this is an event that's been going on since 1987.
Wow.
So, and what have we figured out? You've been to 4?
No, I've been to 3.
You've been to 3. I've been to 4 of these
Mhm,
conferences
yes.
over the past several years.
Mhm.
And, of course, the article tonight, the primary article tonight, the feature article, is all about the conference. It was
Mhm.
written a couple of years ago. Although the structure is very similar.
Mhm.
The structure is very similar from year to year.
Yes.
They have different speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me your impressions of this event.
Well, the first UFO conference I ever went to, I really felt like a duck out of water. You know, it was different. I had never, really thought a whole lot about, UFOs, much less people getting together to talk about and to do all the things that they do at these conferences. But, as the last couple of years have gone by, I've been a little bit more open,
Yeah.
to them.
And along with that, there's an interesting conversation that we've had over the course of these several years. It's very easy to dismiss
Yes.
this group of people
Mm-hmm.
because they are not mainstream, and that of course has a lot to do with the editorial that I wrote this week, and the fact that anything that is outside of mainstream, you were really presented with one of two choices. Either we dismiss it, we call it crazy, those people over there with their tinfoil hats and they're super, who knows what they're thinking, and that allows us to go back to our normal lives, that we're not, our basic concepts and ideas are not being threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we choose to be open-minded about this, then we run the risk of going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
and maybe not emerging.
This is true. This is true.
And I think a lot of people are afraid to take that risk, and it is much easier to resort to ridicule than it is to risk upsetting our perceptions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've never seen a UFO, to my knowledge. Something that you brought up, and I experienced this as well, after the first UFO conference, came back and I'm like, yeah, just got back from the UFO conference, wow. And very reputable people that I would trust with pretty much anything then came up to me and went, I had an experience.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I saw something more than once.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain it, but I know it was not normal.
Yeah.
I would call it a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, individuals talking about an intense feelings of fear, irrational feelings of fear associated with these experiences,
Mm-hmm.
the sense that they knew that whatever they were looking at was not of this world.
Yeah.
And you've had the same.
Yes, I have. Of course, over the 40 plus years that I've been in the ministry, I've had, people come and talk to me about things that they've seen, and I don't dare, dismiss these folks, because what they saw was very real. It was very real to them, and it's had a tremendous impact upon their life. And if I can go to the conference for just a moment,
Yes.
That's one of the things that I see or begin to develop in my seeing of the folks who attend these conferences is, for them, they've had an experience. As you said, mainstream out here, we scoff at them, we laugh at them, we think they're silly and, they're off the rocker. But, going to this conference is a safe place for them.
Yes.
They can share their experiences, they can console one another or encourage one another, and just so that they themselves don't, they know that they're not crazy, or at least they're not alone in this experience. And the people that I've talked to over the years who have had experiences, they're not going to go to the conference, but yet they've had the experience and they wanted to tell me. Now, there was, as I've thought about it after we talked a couple of days ago, there was an evening, and it was right up the road here. Another gentleman and I got out of our vehicles and was watching something, in the sky. And neither one of us was really sure what we were seeing, but neither one of us was going to say, I just think we saw, an ET or something like that. It was definitely an unidentified flying object, because neither one of us could identify what it was, but so I don't know if that is a real experience, like some of these other folks have had, but I don't dismiss their experience, because to them it's real.
Very, very true.
Mm-hmm.
So coming back to the conference,
Mm-hmm.
there's definitely some differing, maybe even conflicting schools of thought.
Yeah.
There's the school of thought, the direction of thought that says we're just going to document unidentified objects.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, for example, David Marler comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
He's presented several times. I've heard him twice, I think. You've heard him
I've
once.
heard him once. Mm-hmm.
Really, really interesting and some very compelling information.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely encourage folks to look up some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that what many, many people have reported cannot be explained by traditional government response.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those reports is in the article this week. A situation in which many people over the course of multiple days observed what appeared to be craft flying at high altitude in formation. This was, I think, back in the 40s, maybe the 1950s, over several days in the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
No real good explanation. And ultimately the government said that it was either a burst skyhook balloon or it was cottonwood blossoming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That, and I think that plays into it. Certainly in the latter half of the 20th century, individuals seeing something, we don't necessarily know what, we don't necessarily know why, but seeing something, and then the official explanations simply don't add up.
Mm-hmm.
And when that comes about, it doesn't take too big of a conceptual leap to start people off down their own conspiracy theory rabbit holes.
Yeah, and it's easy for that to happen. Now, one of the speakers that I heard this year was Nick Pope, who former British
MOD.
Yeah, Ministry of Defense, and he brought a lot of very compelling facts,
Yes.
real facts. In fact, he had the real X-Files for the British government, and he kind of tongue-in-cheek teased that he was the real Fox Mulder,
Hashtag Mulder.
Yeah, hashtag Mulder.
And for the record, I love the X-Files.
Yes.
Grew up with the X-Files. So good. Scully and Mulder.
And
hashtag Mulder.
but at the end of his talk, he was referencing some YouTube videos that have been released by our government, about pilots that are seeing things, and some of our Navy jets that are chasing something out there. And you can see it, you can watch it, you can hear. Some of it's kind of, interesting, and the expletives are interesting as well. But and I've looked at some of those, and I'm going, yeah, I can see why folks are questioning what's going on.
When you have oddly shaped vehicles on visual with an F-18 outrunning the F-18 and vastly outmaneuvering the F-18. And it's documented.
Yeah.
This is, and I wonder where this is going, because we're seeing an increased level of this kind of documentation, but without any real explanation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that leaves a lot of questions.
It does.
I mean, and I don't know where that's headed. Of course, there's a school of thought for folks, especially in the UFO community, that says aliens are real and they're here to harm us. And you can I have yet to purchase an orgone generator. I mentioned that in the article. I don't quite get it. Some of this stuff I honestly don't quite get.
Yeah.
And within this range, and this is not meant to be disrespectful, but within this range of the community, there's a lot of directions it's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get a small taste of it at the conference, especially downstairs on the vendor floor.
The vendor floor, yeah.
Everything from what all is down there? I've got the release. There's tarot card readings. There's
spiritualists. There's those who will teach you or try to help you with your own channeling experiences. There's the pyramids that you were talking about.
Yes, the orgone pyramids. A lot of crystals.
A lot of new agey things that are out there. And, part of that, I think has given that community a taint, for lack of a better.
Certainly, I think it's, and I think there is, and we're going to dig into this a little bit, but for myself, and of course I'm a longtime practitioner of yoga. I've had energy work done, which was great, it's easy. So then I think there's a divergence within that community as well. It's so difficult to objectively quantify, for example, energy work or energy healing or chakras. Or any of that stuff. It's so difficult to quantify synchronicity. I'm a huge fan of Julia Cameron's art book. I can't think of the name of it, but look up Julia Cameron. And the book that Tammy's doing right now.
Artist Way.
The Artist Way.
The Artist Way. Yeah.
And one of the things that the Artist Way deals with is really about sort of your subconscious. It's about finding what yourself is actually trying to tell yourself, but our rational minds are usually in the way. And one of the things that it says is going to happen when you start uncovering yourself is that a lot of synchronicity is going to happen. Things that seem like pure coincidence, but they're not, as though the universe is just kind of saying, hello, I'm here, we're all in this together, it's all good. that is something that's very much under the blanket of New Age. I've experienced it. I've seen it work. It work in very concrete ways. Again, huge fan of yoga and making sure that my chakras are hopefully reasonably balanced and that kind of thing. But anything dealing with this, especially in a postmodern, certainly a post Renaissance world, a modern scientific age, if you don't have a scientific way of validating it, how do you validate it outside of your own experience? Yeah. And I think one of the problems that arises, I mean, it's a natural problem, it's not me trying to be mean, but it's just an observation, is that individuals with very real experiences in this type of thing, or maybe people with a lot to offer in this type of thing, can exist side by side with people who, quite frankly, are just making it up, either for the attention that they want, maybe for the money that they could get out of it. And from the outside, there's really no way to particularly tell the difference.
Yeah, I understand. I listened to one speaker that during the course of his talk, he was talking about how the extraterrestrials, was the origin of our life, but yet he was also quoting scripture, and I'm going...
A little bit of an odd mix.
Yeah, and, even to the point where, that we were...
Alien hybrids.
Yeah, alien hybrids.
And they talked to him.
Yes, and they talked to him.
They talked to him during the conference.
Yes, they were relaying a message to us during the conference.
While you were there.
It was very poetic.
It's I'm glad.
And he was reading it while he was receiving it.
I'm glad the aliens are poetic.
Yeah. And it's easy for us to laugh at that because, we're going, wow, But then in the light of these other individuals, who come with real, facts, figures, with real stuff, and then there's the others that...
And it's very difficult sometimes to divvy that up.
Yeah.
And again, based on some of my own experience, pros and cons with things like energy work and synchronicity and things that normally fall under the blanket of New Age, which I'm not specifically against. I know some of it works, but I think one of the things, and certainly from my own experience, is that the more you find things that work, the more that you can develop a sense of who's making stuff up, as opposed to what's actually working. So it's still hard to... the UFO conference fascinates me.
Yeah.
And
I if the Lord allows, I'll probably go again. But one of the things that I noticed different this year was the crowd. A lot of times the crowd has been older, more my age and older folks, But this year there were a lot of younger, especially younger men.
Arkansas boys.
From the
hills.
Rednecks, whatever. It was very, very evident. These are the kind of guys that spend a lot of time, out in the woods, hunting, out in the fields, working, and things like that. And I'm going, okay, there's got to be a reason they're here. So because they're outside so much, they've had some sort of an experience, and they're coming to this conference to try to find some answers.
And that is a different dynamic to the demographic that we've seen over the last 4 years. And I want to get into that. And I sent this YouTube video over to you last night. I'll go ahead and share it because it's on YouTube. I'll share it on the podcast as well. Documentary about werewolves in Vermont. Notice a theme of what I'm interested in. But I liked, first of all, a couple of the people that were being interviewed in that seemed very grounded. And also maybe a little bit of a shameless plug to some of our members, State of the Ozarks members, in this arena from, of course, Jade Davis. Jade is a fantastic yoga practitioner and yoga teacher. Deals a lot with energy work and chakras. One of my mentors. We've got Amanda Lewis with Enlightened Living, and she does energy work, energy healing work, and is a third generation healer. And we also have a paranormal science lab in Joplin, headed up by the inimitable Lisa Martin.
Yes.
Who's also a great writer, and has written multiple books on issues of the paranormal in the Joplin, the tri-state mining district. And these are all people that I believe.
Yeah.
You know, these are not crazy people. And something that that was on. So coming back to the werewolf documentary in Vermont. The Hound of Cold Hollow is what it's titled. And one of the individuals that was being interviewed by phone only was talking about how certain people who are essentially the disenfranchised of society tend to basically like, and I don't really get it, but like vibrate at a lower frequency or a different frequency than, say, like the popular kids. And that opens them up to seeing things, not that they're seeing things, but to somehow opening their eyes to other dimensions or other things.
The other experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
That may be unexplainable. I don't quite get that. And it brings up a question we really don't have the answer for, but it's basically like the chicken and the egg. Something, and I'm not trying to be harsh about this, but so many of the people that I have observed at these type of events are the disenfranchised. These are people who are outside mainstream. And it's the question, did they have a UFO experience and that so changed their perspective that they're existing outside of mainstream? Or did they exist outside of mainstream and that's why they were able to see something that maybe the rest of us didn't? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are questions for someone with a deeper degree than what I've got, you know. But it's certainly, you know, food for thought.
There's so many ways that you can parse this out.
Yeah.
And of course it's something that hashtag Arcane Ozarks are. I mean, we're really slowly we're building our own paranormal division for the magazine, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Although, again, and I talk a little bit about this. I do I keep referencing articles that I've written. It's so egotistical, but I do my best thinking on paper, and that's when the ideas come out. I'm going to reference. It's not in this article, but reference the Pythian Castle, and because I got to go on the ghost tour, and didn't experience anything at that particular instance. And I was watching everybody else, and most of these were basically average, everyday couples out for a good time. A lot of them had probably stopped off at Applebee's for some drinks beforehand, and they were just like they weren't taking it seriously. It's like this is just goofy entertainment. And as the stories mounted, I could sense a change that they're going, wait, oh crap. What if this is real? And if it is real, what if we do have a documentable paranormal experience? What if something is really out there? I'm never going to go back to my normal life ever again. And you could watch the tension build over the night. That they're going, this was supposed to be fun, but maybe I'm not sure if it's fun anymore. Because I don't think I'm ready for this kind of an answer.
Yeah.
And then at the end, and there's a lot of the sort of the quote unquote ghost hunting technology that is interesting and is potentially confirmable and that kind of thing. But the stuff that people had their iPhones and they were looking for orbs and they were doing all this stuff, and they got to see some stuff, quote unquote. But I don't think that it was anything that nobody left there changed. They're like, ooh, that was so spooky, but nobody walked out and was going, the perceptions of my life have been completely altered. and realizing that we're always interested, but when it comes up to the edge, very few of us really want to take that step over. Mm-hmm. We really don't want our mainstream opinions challenged, ultimately. Mm-hmm. Because that, at the very least, that would put us, over there with those people we've been making fun of.
Yeah. Yeah, it really would. A question I heard you ask Ethan while I was waiting to come in, about his belief in,
Yes, so do you believe?
Yeah, so do I believe? I think I do. I have no problem believing that there is other life out there somewhere. And it's very possible that they are visiting us, for whatever reason.
And our cows.
Yeah, and because to me it seems very lonely with the vast universe and galaxies that are out there, that God would only have chosen one little rock, out here to put life on. Billy Graham had a great, what I thought was a take on it, and he used to say, he said he had no problem believing that there was other intelligent life beyond, what we know about here on Earth. And he said, but the thing that he wonders is if maybe we as humans were the only ones who rejected him.
Ouch.
Which is, another podcast all in itself,
which will be coming up as we enter Holy Week.
Yeah.
And then conclude Holy Week. This is jumping over last point for this podcast before we bring Ethan back in. But the second article is about springtime in Eureka. Mm-hmm. Eureka Springs, certainly one of our favorite places in the Ozarks. Yeah. And you got to see these photos are from several years ago, but we actually kind of traipsed down through the same space on Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, and so tell me your impressions. It was one of my favorite photo shoots at the time with a brand new lens, which was a lot of fun. But tell me your impressions of Eureka Springs and Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and especially this time of year, one of the prettiest times of the year.
Oh, it is beautiful. The redbuds and the dogwoods, the forsythia, the tulips, everything was just bursting with color. There were a lot of people, but I've always liked Eureka Springs. Since I was a young preacher, my first time ever going to Eureka Springs, and just the architect, the creative community. The artsy stuff, the crafty stuff that's there, I've always enjoyed it. And, some of the best food I have ever consumed, in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
It's a fun place.
It is a fun place to go.
The energy is very different down there.
Mm-hmm. It is.
The very first time I went down there, creeped me out. I ran back to Branson going, I don't get it. Of course, I had kind of a weird paranormal experience at the Crescent Hotel. Yeah. Very first time I was down there, and it scared the fool out of me. And I'm like, yeah, this is nice, I'm leaving. But then I've since really fallen in love with the town, and like you said, the architecture, the fact that it's perched between two mountains. It's a tiny village with an incredibly enigmatic history, and but oh my gosh, the flowers are beautiful.
And it's a tourist town with a different twist on tourism.
Very much so.
Very different twist on tourism.
Very different from Branson.
Yeah. But like you, I had my own experience. In fact, you may have been with me when this happened at the Crescent Hotel. The Devil Cat.
Oh,
do you remember the Devil Cat?
I do remember the Devil Cat.
Oh my gosh. There was this cat that was just sitting, staring into the fireplace.
Like with his nose like an inch from the fire.
Right, and then just turned around with me and went, I was ready to leave.
That was I was sitting right underneath the bat owl.
Yeah.
The Irish stonemasons who constructed the Crescent Hotel, opening in 1886, they carved these figures, half bat, half owl, into a variety of the structures. And one of them's I think two of them, maybe one of them certainly is in the fireplace. There's one over in the lobby, over by the check-in desk. Check it out. I don't know what bat owls are all about, but wow, they're a little creepy. They're beautiful, and of course, and it's hard to quantify. Again, coming back to that energy thing, it's so hard to quantify. But very first time, I'll just spill the beans, to the whole world. Very first time I went to the Crescent Hotel. I went in cold. I had no idea that it has a history of hauntings. This was before it was on Ghost Hunters or whatever it was that made a big deal. None of that. Went in, looked around, walked up to the 4th floor, went up to the Sky Bar, which has an amazing view, and was standing on the right side of the Sky Bar. It was middle of the afternoon. It was in April, middle of the afternoon. There was plenty of other people up there. Not even remotely a creepy time or place or anything. And again, this is one of those things. I can't quantify this scientifically, but I sensed a presence. It was directly over my left shoulder. And the presence was an overwhelming sense of evil. It was this sense that whatever is standing right next to me hates my guts, would probably be happy to push me over the edge if it could, and wants me to leave. And my heart rate went up. I just got intensely uncomfortable. It was as though there really wasn't even anybody else on the Sky Bar. And I'm just going, I have got to get out of here. I never saw anything. I never heard anything. I just went, I have got to leave. I don't get this. I just got to get out of there. I was so shook up. I was scared to get in the elevator because I was afraid that whatever was looking over my shoulder would follow me into the elevator and I would be stuck in there with it. And then for all I knew, it was going to turn the elevator off, and then who knows what was going to happen. Went down the stairs. 4 flights down, I'm going, okay, there's the door, I've got to leave. Walked out, and the feeling was gone. Heart rate back to normal. And we've worked together for 10 years. I don't freak out that easily.
That's right.
And I'm not like scared of the dark and any of that stuff. Plus, I went in with no anticipation. I had read nothing of the history of the Crescent Hotel beforehand. So, got my blazer, got my cherry red blazer, and like, I'm going back to Branson, I'm not coming back. And then maybe 6 months later, the more I thought about it, like, I want to go see what it was. I've been back to the Crescent multiple times. I've gone on photo shoots by myself at the Crescent Hotel between 11 and midnight when there was nobody else walking around on those floors. I've been in the downstairs in Norman Baker's morgue, long history, look it up, but I've been down in the morgue when basically they put you in a little room and turn out all the lights, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. The whole bit. And I'm like, yeah, no, sorry. Nothing about this is freaking me out. I'm just here. I've personally not had any other experiences like that there. Yeah. So, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Search it out for yourself.
We can talk for hours and hours.
True, but we won't.
Yeah.
We won't. We'll get Ethan back in here. Dale, it's so good to have you in
the
studio.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
We're going to be, it's going to be the Dale Show. We'll be featuring you repeatedly over the next couple of podcasts. So
okay.
Thank you.
Hey, I like that. I can be the next famous something, like my son.
All right.
Thanks,
Dale,
guys.
thanks.
You're just applauding because we're done.
We got one more session. We're not close. We're not even halfway.
So, Ethan.
Yeah.
How do you feel about UFOs and ghosts now?
Well, I was sitting there and I was listening to you guys talk, and I realized that I guess I'm like the State of the Ozarks resident straight man, where I don't necessarily believe in any of this stuff, but I also don't I don't know. I guess I'm just waiting to be...
You're waiting for the experience.
Yeah.
That's okay. That is nothing wrong with that.
I mean, there's been some stuff that you may, I've thought might have been ghosts before, but nothing that's ever stuck and been like, oh my gosh. So, I don't know.
That's fair. It's been a fun night.
Yeah, it has.
It has been a fun night. We hope folks enjoy it. I think we got some sort of fun recipe on
Yeah, I have it in my pocket.
The whole recipe? Wow.
Yeah. Butter dumplings.
Butter dumplings. I'm excited about that recipe.
Yeah.
I have not made it yet, but it's it came from my dumpling cookbook. All dumplings, all the time. We hope you enjoy it. So, to learn more...
Oh, yeah.
So, to learn more...
Visit us on stateoftheozarks.net.
Sign up for a State of the Ozarks weekly email.
Like State of the Ozarks on Facebook.
Follow @SotoMedia on Twitter.
Subscribe to Soto Media on YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram @State of the Ozarks.
And subscribe to This Been Thinking About podcast on iTunes.
Thank you for listening to Been Thinking About, the State of the Ozarks podcast with Josh.
And Ethan.
And this is our Ozarks.
Your community.